LGD's turn to ban.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome into this edition of the G-1 Champions League Asia Qualifiers. So much on the line in this best of three. Two fantastic teams squaring off. It's win or go home and win or go and, or I shouldn't say or go land, win and go land for at least one of these teams. Rattlesnake, the enigmatic new team of old veterans, finds themselves in a truly bizarre position today. Not only is it win or go home, it's win and go land. As I had mentioned, Rattlesnake, led by Lanham, a former E-Home fame, has been one of the more interesting stories of the Asia qualifiers so far. They entered play as a Phase 2 invite where they went on to 2-0. Gizmo Gaming and MUFC on their way to advancing, and their winning landed them amongst the huge names of Orange, LGD International, and LGD China, and it didn't take them long at all to prove that they deserve to have their name right amongst those other big names, as they were able to dominate Orange 2-0 in their first match here in Phase 3. A loss to LGD International afterwards, though, has left them sitting at 1-1. A win here today would move them to 2-1, tying them with Orange for first place, and they have that head-to-head advantage over them. So a loss would drop them to 1-2, tying them for last place against LGD International, who beat them. So what it comes down to is Rattlesnake is in this bizarre situation. If they win here today, they finish first in the group and advance directly to the LAN finals. Don't have to play any more matches in Phase 3. If they lose, not only do they lose their chance at that, they're out. They are done. They will finish in the bottom of the standing. So win or go home, win or go LAN for Rattlesnake. Now for LGD China. When it comes to Chinese, though, I mean, there aren't many teams with more fans than LGD China, and today they may have a few more than usual. 5, actually. See, Orange Esports, who beat LGD in their only meeting here in G1, now finds their fate largely in control of LGD's talented lineup. If Rattlesnake wins, they'll be knocked down to second place via tiebreakers and have to play out of the remainder of the Phase 3 playoffs if they hope to find a way to land. If LGD manages to eliminate Rattlesnake, though, they'll have their ticket punched to the live finals, as they have the tiebreak advantage over Orange. Now, beyond that, their counterparts, LGD International, they have a stake in this match too, one which will have them pulling for their brothers in arms even more than usual. If LGD China loses, it'll drop them into a tie for last place in the group against LGD International. And since China won the head-on-head meeting between those two brother and sister organizations, that would mean that LGD International would be eliminated if Rattlesnake manages to advance. I know, you need a flow chart. I mean, this is some complex stuff. But the bottom line is this. Rattlesnake, if they win, they go LAN. If they lose, they go home. LGD, if they win, Orange ends up going to LAN. If they lose, they end up eliminating their brothers, and Rattlesnake goes directly to LAN. So, yeah, a lot on the line for absolutely every team. And it's really awesome that we have such a well-designed, I should say, group stage where you can have so much riding on just one best of 3 for absolutely every team. Literally, every team in the group has something that is going to be determined based on this match. So with that out of the way, how about we talk about the bans and the picks? We see Magnus and Keeper of the Light taken out by LGD, Lone Druid and Nyx Assassin taken out by Rattlesnake. But, oh man, looking at Rattlesnake's front 3, that is an extremely strong front 3. Now, I mean, let's not sleep on Lifestealer and Shadow Demon. But with Bad Rider and Clockwork, you think they're going to have a little bit of reach? You think maybe they're going to be looking to take fights fairly early on with a Darkseer as well? LGD looking for... I mean, LGD so far has drafted a team that can deal with that. Lifestealer is a hero who does need a core set of items, and we're seeing some really creative ways that Lifestealers are being built of late. Shadow Demon, just a fantastic hero in every single situation, and really good against heroes like Bat Rider, like Clockwork, if he can get a disruption off after the lasso or after the hookshot lands and the cogs go down. And of course, Queen of Pain, a teamfight monster once she hits level 6. But what I already see out of Rattlesnake, and it kind of works against LGD in a big way. I mean, you've already got 3 extremely strong solo lane heroes. You could literally run any 3 of those heroes in mid. Kabu, who has been billed, and rightfully so, as one of the best and most surprising Clockwork players to emerge over the last month as a hero, or excuse me, a player on a hero, if he does wind up on the clock, that we want to keep our eyes on. He has played a phenomenal Clockwork throughout the entirety of Phase 2 and on into Phase 3. And now with Darkseer and Bad Rider, I mean, they have so much flexibility and versatility in their lanes. What I think might end up happening is we may end up having an offensive trialing featuring that Clockwork. I mean, you can also do it with Darkseer, but then again, there's that really crazy lane that you can run where you run a 2-1-2 and you end up putting a Darkseer and a Clockwork against the defensive tri-lane, and those two heroes working together can actually confound the hell out of a defensive tri-lane if it's not extremely well run. And we can see the bans that Rattlesnake is pouring on now. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and take out the Brewmaster to go with the Lena and the Leshrac. Lena and Leshrac, obviously, you don't want to let those heroes fall into LGD's hands, given they are looking for high-tier supports, and those two heroes work superbly, with Shadow Demon just being able to follow up Disruption with a Light Strike Array or a Split Earth. And then the Brewmaster you take out because, hey, that's a teamfight monster. He can teamfight really well at 6. He can hold towers. Brewmaster's the kind of hero that I always tag as an anchor hero. Like Darkseer, not so much. Darkseer, I mean, obviously, he fights really well under his own tower. He fights well early on, especially if he can get up to a quick level 9 or 10 when you start seeing that first point go into wall to complete the vacuum wall combination. But more than anything, you have a Brewmaster, it is just about impossible to engage into him unless you go all in. I mean, obviously, if you throw everything at him and you feel confident that you can isolate him and bring him down before he uses Split, but given how quick the cast time on Split is, it's a lot easier said than done. On the side of LGD, we can see them taking out the Weaver, another very strong hero that would have fit very well in a Rattlesnake's lineup, the Anti-Mage and the Rubik. Rubik makes a lot of sense to me. The Anti-Mage, I'm not really sure why you would go something like that, other than the fact that the 3 heroes they already have can teamfight really well just by themselves, and there could be some nasty split push that comes out of a lineup that has these 3 heroes plus maybe one more strong hero that can teamfight earlier on, that you can free the map up by just 4-manning around the map, letting the Anti-Mage farm up. And Rattlesnake is going to pick up a Morphling now. That Morphling pickup is really, really interesting to me. I'll tell you why. And Silencer out of LGD makes a ton of sense, and we'll get to that in a minute. Morphling is a hero. Last time we saw him, Orange ran him, and Morphling still has the same strengths he always did. He's just not quite as useful in the early and middle stages of the game. The Ethereal Blade build doesn't really work like it used to anymore. His morph time, so far as morphing his strength, a little bit less reliable than it used to be. But what a Morphling can contribute and what he really gives you that works well with this lineup, one is mobility. Once he hits level 6, him being in fights will no longer be a problem so long as Rattlesnake is thinking far enough ahead. They'll be able to always have a replicant where they need. Morphling, of course, I mean, that's to say nothing of just being able to TP and then defend towers or what have you. But he also can contribute a lot through nothing else but waveform. The fact that he can show up with a team that has so much team fight when you're talking about hook and cogs, vacuum wall. The ability for Darkseer to vacuum heroes into the cogs, by the way, is just disgustingly good. And then if you can get those heroes together, you have them burning through the Firefly damage, you have them waveformed upon, so on and so forth. That is so much that allows Morphling to really oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. This makes me feel like I'm watching a match from back at the International 2. Crystal Maiden picked up with Morphling now, and what I think they're going to end up doing here is a 2-2-1. I think they're going to end up, and I could very well be wrong, but going back, for those who have been watching a lot of competitive Dota, back to around the time of the International 2. This was something an EG in particular did remarkably well. You pick a Crystal Maiden and a Morphling, you send those 2 heroes mid, then you can simply run a 2-2-1, however you want to do it. They could end up soloing the Bat with Darkseer in the woods and Clock soloing top, or they could end up soloing the Bat in the safe lane with Darkseer and Clockwork running in that offensive position, as I had mentioned. Now, looking at that offensive position that they could possibly take with those 2 heroes, you've got Queen of Pain, who really craves mid. Silencer can mid, but I think he's going to end up working with the Lifestealer and the Shadow Demon. That actually would be a lane that Darkseer and Clockwork could abuse pretty heavily. I mean, the level 6 ult out of Silencer is going to be just devastating for Rattlesnake's teamfight potential if it's executed and used correctly by LGD Gaming. But that doesn't say anything about his lane presence. I mean, yes, Last Word is annoying. It can do some damage. But Silencer's one of those heroes. Oh, wow. Dragon Knight going to be the pickup here. So I think they may end up doing something a little bit nuts here. They may end up I don't know, though. They could end up soloing. They could end up offensively tri-laning this if they really, really wanted to. But honestly, there's so many options available on both teams that it's almost impossible to call it right off. And off to a great start. Love this draft, getting to see a Dragon Knight, a hero that I think is really underutilized in a lot of situations, especially against right-click-centric heroes like a Morphling. Like Waveform, as good as it is in the early and mid-game stages, it doesn't do much later. Same with the shotgun build that you just don't see that much anymore. The F-Blade build doesn't really work for Morphling like it used to. So if you're up against someone that you're just worried is going to be able to right-click you to death if he gets too much farm, DK is actually a phenomenal pick because you're talking an immense amount of bonus armor. Even early on, even with just a couple of points, let alone when it's maxed in Dragon Blood, that makes you so much stronger in terms of being able... And DK is a good hero to give as an example as an anchor hero. It is hard to engage into a DK, especially once he hits 16 and has his level 3 ult. But anyway, I think they're going to have Kabu mid. They may end up just 2-1-2ing this, just going old school. We're going to find out, though. I'm really intrigued by the way that both teams are looking so far. While we have time, doesn't look like we're going to have too much invasion action going on. Let's run through our lineups. Landham, the captain and the progenitor of the Rattlesnake squad. You may remember him from eHome fame. He's going to be handling our Crystal Maiden. Icy will be farming up our Morphling. Darkseer going to be played by Sag. Kabu, the player that I really want to see back in action here today. He's going to be handling our Clockwork and getting a good start in mid. And Batrider going to be played by Luo. On the other side of the river, we've got Long DD handling our Shadow Demon. Dragon Knight going to be played and farmed by Sylar. We're going to have Yao playing on our Night Stalker. Our Night Stalker, that's what that is, obviously. Jeez, what's wrong with me? Our Life Stealer, I should say. DDC going to be handling our Queen of Pain, and Silencer going to be played by Zhao 8. Now we can see our Batrider did make his way over into the Dire side. He is using Firefly to get himself back to safety. He's trying to be cute there. And DDC up against Kabu here in mid. It is going to be a long lane Darkseer, so no surprise there. This Batrider might end up just dipping into the jungle, which I have no problem with at all. It's a very safe and stable way to handle things. Sag, as so long as he stays careful, should have no problem keeping himself safe. Now, this is where things get a little bit chancy for me. Putting this Lifestealer out here up against this Crystal Maiden and against this Morphling. Yes, he shouldn't have no problem getting experience. The ability for him to get any sort of real farm, though, gonna be handicapped entirely. And you know, it makes sense to send him here just because Rage is going to allow him to get out of trouble if he gets frostbitten. You know, that the combination early on that makes these two heroes, Crystal Maiden and Morphling, so potent together just is not going to be able to do much, given it is magic damage and magic abilities. But yeah, this is going to be the story of his life. He's going to be blocking creeps, trying to get some creep equilibrium under control and soak up some experience. We can see that we already have a couple of wards out blocking the whole camp here, as well as one right here. But he is not going to be getting farm to speak of at all. And that's very problematic for a Lifestealer. Lifestealer is a hero who does need a core set of items and does need them fairly quickly. A Lifestealer, I mean, it doesn't matter how you decide to build him. You know, probably the most popular build I've seen over the last week for a Lifestealer, at least in this tournament, has been Phase Drums Sanjin Yasha, or Phase Drums something like that. You know, Phase Drums being the real core items. What I would call the cookie cutter build, of course, going something like an Armlet, then maybe even Drums after that, or, you know, something along those lines. Either way, you need them up at a decent timing. Getting your Armlet up at 25 minutes is not going to contribute a whole lot to your team. At that point, you're barely back to even, especially when you're talking about a Dragon Knight who is doing well so far. Sylar leading RCS, actually tied right up with Morphling. Morphling sitting at 12 and Sylar sitting at 11. And 2.5 minutes in, pretty solid start for both of these players. Excuse me, feel like I'm going to sneeze. Don't want to sneeze into the microphone for you. But in the late game, again, it's very hard to call exactly who's going to come out ahead, at least in terms of the pure right-click carry potential. I see on our Morphling, I mean, just the ability to morph all of your stats into agility, get that attack speed, get the armor that comes with that morphed agility as well. That is certainly going to help not only keep him alive, but to allow him to just pour out an immense amount of damage. But again, Dragon Knight, and haven't really been taking a look yet. He's gone 1-1-1. That's pretty typical, I think. I'm actually a little surprised he got a point in the Dragon Blood this early. Don't think he needs it to farm out of that tri-lane reliably, but what we might end up seeing out of both teams is a willingness to fight, and I think that's really going to be key for Rattlesnake, is once they get off to a decent start here, and this really is a lane that is going to continue to go well for them. Yao, again, sitting at just 3 last hits, not likely to get any better for him anytime soon. And that's something that Rattlesnake's going to be able to capitalize on so long as they have their key heroes with some key items up early. An early mech on the Darkseer, for example, can make a huge difference. Luo, who has taken to the jungle now, just stacking and pulling. I shouldn't even say pulling, just stacking and burning down these jungle creeps. Should be able to get himself up a pretty quick Blink Dagger if he's left to his own devices. Those items, combined with Kabu getting to a quick 6, he's already 4.5. Queen of Pain's actually about a level ahead of him right now, so he has been taking a little bit of abuse. But once they have those heroes in position, they're going to be able to start taking fights and especially pressuring this bottom lane. Because, again, Lifestealer, I mean, he's staying on par in levels because he is able to hang around and rely on Rage to get himself out of trouble. And we are going to have Sag taking a little bit of damage here. But, again, should have no problem making it back. Yeah, be totally safe. Little counter warding going on out of Rattlesnake now. Reasserting their own dominance of their jungle. And now we're going to have Yao engaging on Icy. Icy very much morphed into agility right now. Actually, no, he hasn't. He hasn't morphed in. Yeah, a few points, I guess, but not much. But still taking a decent amount of damage up at top. Now this might be troublesome for that Darkseer. He's going to eat a Dragon Tail immediately. Yep, that's it. First blood. And that's really a mistake that he should not be making there. He has to know that in this position, he's not going to interrupt their farm at all. And yes, obviously, the importance of, like I said, an early mech to them being able to fight early on is going to make him want to get up closer, to take chances, to soak up as much experience as he can just to get himself in a better position, but also to try and make sure that he's getting the gold he needs to try and get up some early team fight items. But right there, that's just a flat-out mistake that should not have been made. And that kill going to Shadow Demon, certainly going to help out a lot. That's a tri-lane who's going to be in much better shape now. 30 last hits for DK, 31 for our Queen of Pain in mid. Morphling's right there with 30 as well. But, yeah, that's... I'm really surprised Sag made that mistake, actually. I mean, again, he has to know that they're going to be looking to shut him down once they get a few levels. They have a ton of kill potential when you're talking about a silencer and the amount of single target damage he can pour out, as well as the disruption and the soul catcher to lead things off, and the long duration stun that is Dragon Tail. He only has 1 point into it, and even so, still very, very long. DDC is going to make his way bottom, looking to pre-rune at 6 minutes. And will not find anything. Rune will spawn top. It will be a regen spotted by Clockwork, so 3 regen for our Rattle Trap. So far, though, other than the 1 first blood, relatively quiet on the map. Bad Rider is now hitting that stride, and this is kind of how Bad Rider works. One of the reasons you don't see him in the jungle that much is because he is so dominant as a mid laner in particular, or in any one-on-one lane if you can isolate him that way. He's just excellent because of Sticky Napalm. But if you decide to put him in the jungle, he starts out really slow, starts out, having to, worry about mana issues a lot, having to make sure his regen is there, really has to be on time with his stacks to get the most out of every usage of Firefly. But about the time he gets his Tranquil Boots up, his jungle speed just goes through the roof, and he's on pace for a 9-minute Blink Dagger, give or take. And that's exactly what I was talking about for Rattlesnake. Getting that up, if, Sag hadn't have died, he'd have been in much better shape heading towards a mech. He doesn't have his boots yet, so still quite a ways away. Did opt to go instead of getting a soul ring, though, so slightly cheaper option. We'll see what he wants to follow that up with. Lifestealer finding a little bit of farm now. He's just got 7, but right on par with his supports, I guess, so if nothing else. And that's really my big question mark for LGD. I feel like their other lanes are going phenomenally for them. DDC obviously having a fantastic start in mid, just crushing the Rattle Trap, really. I mean, Kabu, as good as he is, he's not going to overcome the inherent weaknesses that come with a Queen of Pain versus a Clockwork. I mean, the fact that he's got 17, even though he is, again, being crushed here in mid. I mean, you look at the levels. He's level 6.5, she's level 8. So you're talking 1.5 levels difference, to say nothing of more than double the CS for the Queen of Pain. But, I mean, so that lane's going very well for them. The tri-lane obviously going very well for them, with DK sitting at 41 last hits. He was part of a kill as well. Kill did go to long DD, but that's just going to help him get up something like Arc Boots all the much earlier, which is very important if they do want to start taking sustained pushes or sustained team fights in the near future. But, yeah, really, I feel like is going to end up feeling like a wasted pick for quite some time, and we see cheeky little denial by Lanham. Says, I don't need it, and I'm gonna make sure you don't get it either. Icy certainly doing a good job as well. Now, the way he decides to build is gonna tell us a lot. Mentioned that the F-Blade build just doesn't work quite as well as it used to. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not something that he just can't do. It's just not quite as effective as it was at one time. And because of that, we don't see it all that often. But it is a choice that if he decides to head that direction, will allow him to start fighting with his team much earlier on. And it's honestly been so long since I've seen a Morphling that it makes it hard to call. Now, something I'll be honest, I don't know, but I would think would work this way is Global Silence, I'm pretty sure, should prevent Morphling from morphing stats. I don't know that for sure just because I've never seen it. And it's not something I've ever thought to look up, really. But If a global silence prevents Morphling from morphing his stats, that alone makes that pickup worthwhile for LGD. The fact that they have a reliable way to lock down the Morphling and keep him from morphing out of trouble early on gives them so much more ability to bring him down and to apply pressure to him. 9.5 minutes into this game, still no kills other than the first blood on the board. Treads, the option for Siler. No real surprise in that. Treads up on the Queen of Pain as well. Kabu with his own bottle. He's got a set of Tier 1 boots. Lanham, Tier 1 boots as well. Bad Rider does have his Blink Dagger up. Thought it was going to be around 9. I assume it was around 9 by the time he had the gold. Now, how early they want to start putting this Blink Dagger through the pace is very important. Of course, we see he's already in position here. And Yao has got to be conscious of this. I mean, a Bat Rider left to his own devices, you know, it isn't some big secret or some unknown variable that a Bat Rider that is jungling and left alone in the jungle will have a Blink Dagger by 10 minutes in almost every case. And now we're going to see the TP up to top, actually. Thought Luo was going to hang around and try to catch this Lifestealer as he moved back in the lane, but not going to be the case now, as he has made his way to top. And he's joined up with Crystal Maiden as well. Lanham plus Luo. And Sag going to try to make something happen here. Now, this is a clutch fight for them. If they get up here and make the mistake of giving up a couple of kills, this is going to get the DK very far ahead. He's already level 8.5, Silencer's level 4, level 5 on Shadow Demon. The experience very good on all of these heroes. Level 8 for Bad Rider, level 5 for Crystal Maiden, just level 3 on Sag as of now. Doesn't have a single point into Vacuum. Something worth mentioning as well. And here we go. They're going to try and catch Zhao 8. Zhao 8, oh, well, he blinks. He's just going to go ahead and grab Siler. Went past the easy target. Good disruption. Talked about that during the draft. Now the counter initiation on the Lanham. Do they want to fight it? Flame Break is there. Knocks Siler back. Icy has made his way up too, but now the entire squad of both teams making their way to this piece of real estate. Top lane looking to be a battlefield real soon. And I talked about that during the draft. How well Shadow Demon was going to work in that regard. If you're able to get off a disruption once a hero is either caught with the lasso like we saw there, and it works just as well whenever you have someone who's hook-shotted onto and caught in the cogs, just buy time. Just allow your team to get into a better position to fight and take away that surprise factor. Take away that, got your nose kind of a factor. Now we're just going to see LGD go for this. Siler level 8. Should have no problem bringing that tower down. Now the hook's going to come in. Kabu actually has got nothing down. Another disruption is going to be there. Kabu making a run for it, looking for someone. Queen of Pain able to blink away. Kabu just got kited to death. Bat Rider, though, chasing down Long DD. He's burning down Zhao 8 in the meantime, now forced to rethink things, making his way back down to the river. DDC was pursuing him. And that's a 2-for-0 trade. Shadow Demon able to barely make it away. And that was a very rare misplay coming out of Kabu. Kabu basically went into that fight and accomplished nothing. He got kited to death and really just did nothing. And that, if you've seen him play so far here in G1, you know that's surprising. The guy has been clutch for the most part. That time, though, LGD doesn't only make it away, they make it away big victors. They get the Tier 1, add 2 more kills to their total. And looking at the gold graph, we can see 12 minutes in, coming up on 2,500 gold their advantage, 2,000 experience their advantage now as well. Now with them, again, Rattlesnake is in one of those situations. Crystal Maiden is not a hero who scales particularly well into the late game. I mean, her ult does damage, that's fine. If she gets, if she has something crazy like 3 early kills and is able to just get a little bit ahead, she can be really effective. But really where she shines, there we go, is in the early game and in the laning phase. And really, I can't say she was wasted. I mean, she kept the Lifestealer off of farm forever. And in fact, we can see Yao still hurting in that regard with just 18. But we didn't see a lot of her kill potential. Oh, Lanham and Luo, they were spotted out there. Now we're going to see LGD back off, just not feeling confident. I honestly think they could have just blown Lanham up and gotten away. But playing it safe instead, and they're going to go after Icy. Icy waveforming down. Now he has no escape because of that. Here we go, open wounds. TP reaction is going to be there immediately. Can they clean him up? Crystal Maiden is there. Nope, nope, never mind. I thought she was coming. She was not. But Queen of Pain is the one I meant. Excuse me. And yeah, that's a very important kill. Bringing down the Morphling. He's actually going for a BKB first. That is bizarre to me. That is bizarre to me. Silence goes through BKB. So you can't, like, BKB before a fight and rely on that to keep global silence off. They don't need... I mean, Morphling survivability is already going to be hampered as it is. Not building damage now just feels like a gigantic mistake for me. And Queen of Pain manages to get herself another kill just kind of for fun, I reckon. And she's going to be able to deny this tier 1 top. Yeah, that's exactly what she's going to do. This is just a really well-executed game so far out of LGD. Their mistakes have been few and far between, if at all. To tell you the truth, I don't know that they've made a mistake yet. Their reactions have been dead on the money. And is Sylar actually going to build a Shadow Blade? Is that really what he's going to grab here? I kind of hope so. I've never seen that on a DK before, I don't think. It makes sense. I mean, it gives you a little bit of more mobility, the ability to team fight earlier on. He's got a casual cloak as well. That cloak, a very nice reaction, very cheap way to mitigate some of the damage that is going to be coming out of Rattlesnake between the Firefly Burn, Waveform, Crystal Maiden, and her whole skill set plus ulti, Darkseer, Vacuum Wall, etc. Just a very cost-efficient way to help take some of that edge off. And that has got to be really the big worry now for Rattlesnake. This is, you know, at 20 minutes, they want to be feeling strong. And unless something changes drastically in the next 5, that's not going to be the case. And then you start running into the problem of, okay, they're going to have BKB soon. Okay, their magic resistance is going to be getting very high soon. When that happens, what does this lineup do to try and buy time for Icy? Icy, again, going for his own magic resistance with the BKB. But he needs right-click. Like, he is their late game. That's it. Him plus Clockwork and Darkseer, really. I mean, Bat Rider, obviously, but, I mean, when you're talking about the kill potential, or the damage output, probably the more accurate way to put it, if they want to have any chance to survive through the mid-game, Morphling has to have his team freeing up space and making sure he finds his farm. And if the magic resistance comes out on LGD before Morphling has any damage built, they're just not going to be able to fight. And LGD is recognizing this already. This is why they're running as a group now. Even though they could extend the laning phase, they could just continue to farm their carries. Yao on his way to an armlet, so he will be going much more mid-game centric with his phase. Oh, Lanham. Crystal Maiden going back to base the hard way. No reaction there. And probably for the best. That's a free kill. Now they're going to be able to pressure this tier 1 bottom. I don't know that Icy can do anything about him. We can already see, I mean, really smart warding already coming out from LGD, keeping an eye on anyone who's going to be coming from behind the tower. Sylar. And this is, I love just mechanically right thing. Sylar getting himself behind the tower here. That's going to allow him to zone out Icy if he decides to re-engage before the creeps come up. Makes it much harder to deny. And there's going to be, oh, wow, Lanham's just going to die. Don't know what the plan was there. Kabu hits a hook, but unable to follow it up. Disruption onto Kabu. And LGD happy to just take what they've got. Luo looking for a target. He might find long DD. Just exposes himself. Now here comes Queen of Pain looking at Kabu. No tower there to help them. Icy up in the woods. Here comes Sag. Oh, open wound's going to catch Sag. He did manage to surge Kabu, but no way Sag makes it out. And this game is officially getting out of control. This lineup that Rattlesnake drafted is not a lineup that could afford to be losing fights right now. And things have just not gone their way. And Morphling again, I mean, I'm just a little baffled by this Ogre Club. Just a little baffled by it. I'm not sure what it could possibly give them that they need right now. Morphling can't even fight. And a BKB is not really going to change that. A BKB is not going to make him do better damage. For now, though, LGD just beginning to systematically clear off towers. Only one tier 1 remaining. It's the tier 1 mid here. Queen of Pain has already gotten an Orchid up. How sick is that? Queen of Pain now able to take away, at any given time, at least one of the major contributing factors of Rattlesnake's team fight. Want to take Morphling out of the fight, prevent a waveform, boom, there you go. You want to take Bad Rider out, make sure he can't lasso, blink on him, and silence him before you can do anything else. DDC off to a phenomenal start. In fact, sitting way ahead of the rest of the board in terms of CS at 106. 31 denies as well, which matters a lot for our little rattle trap here. Kabu does have his tier 2s up. He's added a bracer plus a casual cloak of his own. Mech going to be done on Zhao 8 very soon. And when that mech comes out, that I really don't know what Rattlesnake can do. I don't know that they can fight. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have a hook shot and a Bat Rider blink in. And you're going to see Long DD, unless he's the one who is lassoed, which should never happen. I mean, Long DD's smart enough to know where he belongs in terms of positioning. And yeah, we're going to have Icy just killed. That should never happen to a Morphling, ever. 9-0. Morphling still in search of that elusive BKB. And that's going to free up LGD to now push mid. But anyway, what's going to happen when that mech comes out is you're going to have a disruption from Long DD to take away one of the targets that's lassoed or hooked. Then you're going to have mech on the other one. And then you're just going to have a massive re-engagement following Global Silence. Like, they don't even have to worry about using Silence until after the hook and the lasso are used. And at that point, what do they have? They have a Morphling with 1/3 of a BKB. And that's their damage output. I am really impressed with the way LGD drafted this and seeing it in action now. I mean, it's so hard to predict exactly what the game plan is going to be of a professional team of this caliber. But watching it materialize in front of your eyes is really just a pleasure to behold. And yeah, Luo now just locked down. Never had a chance. Global Silence used just to prevent any kind of escape. Lanham's gone. And this is getting ugly. And yeah, the GG is going to be called. I don't blame him. I mean, they literally have no way to fight. And I mean literally. Not like I'm joking with Puppy literally. They have no way to fight right now. 0-11. LGD hangs a bagel on him. Hangs a bagel on him. An 11-0 shutout, 20 minutes into the game. And this might be the single most impressive victory I've ever seen in professional Dota. Systematic, no mistakes made, great drafting, great lineups, very well played. And it's not as if Rattlesnake is just this terrible team. Rattlesnake 2-0 Orange. They hung a bagel on Orange. But I am just utterly blown away by this performance out of LGD, especially given LGD has shown some weaknesses over the last week or two. They have shown some weaknesses here and there. Not showing a damn one here today. 21 minutes it took them. Actually less than. 20 minutes, 56 seconds the official game time. 11-0. And LGD leads this best of series 1-0. Rattlesnake, if they can battle back and take 2 in a row, they're going to punch their ticket to the live land finals. LGD got other things in mind. Rattlesnake can't lose another game. It is down to the nitty-gritty. Win or go home in Game 2. Rattlesnake drops Game 2. They are out after battling their way to Phase 3 from Phase 2. I'm AC, and you're here on One More Game TV 2. Hope you guys are enjoying the broadcast. Game 2 of this best of 3 coming up next.